So this is a video going over Module 9 Homework 1 over the slope of a line. So our first question is, how do you describe a line? Before we answer that question, let's look at a line. So in math, there's a difference between something like this, which is a straight line, and something like this. So this is a curve. So a line, if you notice, is straight, has the same steepness, and is constant. So how would you describe a line? As a constant steepness. Which is our slope. Our steepness is our slope of the line, how steep the line is. So there we go to the next question. What's a slope? And this is the steepness of the line, how steep it is. So we have a couple different formulas for slope. You will have to know these for the test. Slope is written using the letter M and is our average rate of change. Slope is rise over run, rise divided by run. Our rising is our y values going up and down, so it's our change in y values, so subtracting our y values. Our run is from left to right, so same concept, our change in x values are subtracting our x values, which is the same as change over time. You will need to know these for the test. So we have four different types of slope. We have our positive slope, which from left to right is going upward. Our negative slope, which is going from left to right downward. We read from left to right. Our slope of 0, which is a horizontal line, and our undefined slope is vertical. So one way to remember a slope of 0 is our horizontal has two O's in it, where undefined does not have an O and vertical does not have an O. So another way is to actually think about this conceptually. So meaning, let's actually find the slope. Remember, slope is rise over run. So this line, this horizontal line is not rising any, it's not going up or down any, so that's 0. But it's going left and right forever. So 0 over infinity, 0 divided by anything is 0. This will give us our slope of 0. Same concept over here for our vertical line. If we have rise over run, this vertical line is rising, it's going up and down forever. So infinity divided by our run, it's not going left to right any, so our run is 0. Any number divided by 0 is undefined. Undefined. So it asks us to find the slope of the line that goes through these 2 points. So it gives us the 2 points, -2, 8, and 4, 4. So -2, 8, I'm going to label this as my first point, so x1, y1. And 4, 4, I'm going to label as my second point, x2, y2. So now all we have to do is plug this into our slope formula. Remember, our slope, which is m, is y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. Our y2 is 4 minus our y1 is 8 all over our x2 is 4 minus our x1 is -2. So if you notice, 4 minus 8 is -4 over 4 plus -2. 4 minus -2. Those two negatives make a plus sign, so the same thing as saying 4 plus 2, which is 6. So we have -4 over 6. So we have to make sure that our answer is always in simplest form. So I see that -4 and 6 both have a 2 in common. So we can factor or divide out that 2 from the top and the bottom. And we are left with our final answer of -2 over 3. There's nothing that -2 or 3 have in common, so it cannot be simplified any further. That's our final answer. Same thing for the next one. Find the slope of the line that goes through these 2 points. They give us our first point, -1, -9. So I'm going to label it as x1, y1. And our second point is 7, -5. So x2, y2. Again, plugging it into our slope formula, y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. We labeled y2 as -5 minus y1 was -9 all over 7 minus -1. Just like earlier, those two negatives will become a positive, so -5 plus 9 all over 7 plus 1. Same thing, those two negatives become positive. -5 plus 9 will give us 4 over 8. 7 plus 1 is 8. And then simplifying this, 4 and 8 both have a 4 in common, so we can factor divide out a 4 from the top and the bottom, and we're left with our final answer of 1/2. So to get from one point to the next, we're going to go up 1 over 2. Next page. So what is the y-intercept of the line? The y-intercept is the point that crosses the y-axis. The point that crosses the y-axis. So notice it crosses the y-axis. We're not going left or right any. So our x value is 0. So 0, comma b. We're going to label it using the letter B. The reason why we label it using the letter B is for our slope-intercept form. Our slope-intercept form of a line is y equals mx plus b, where m is our slope and b is our y-intercept. So this is our slope, and 0b is our y-intercept. That's the point that crosses the y-axis. So it says find the slope and the y-intercept of the following line. 3x minus 10y equals -19. So if you notice, going back to module 1 or way back in the beginning, this is our standard form of a line. Standard form is ax plus by equals c. ax plus by equals c. So I need to put this in slope-intercept form. So slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, so I need to get y by itself. So we're going to subtract 3x from both sides. So 3x minus 3x goes to 0. They cancel out. We're left with -10y equals -3x minus 19. Remember, I want it to be mx plus b. So I want that x term to be up front. I can add and subtract in any order, so it doesn't matter which order I write those. I just want it to be mx plus b. So I have mx plus b. Last but not least, getting y by itself. I want to divide both sides by -10. It's -10 times y. So I want to do the opposite and divide both sides by -10. That way -10 divided by -10 goes to 1. They cancel each other out. And we're left with y equals -3x minus 19 over -10. So if you notice, this is all over -10. So that means both terms are being divided by -10. So I have -3x over -10 minus 19 over -10. 3 and 10 don't have anything in common, but they do both have those negatives that can cancel out. So we're left with positive 3 over 10x. Again, 19 and 10 don't have anything in common, but they both have those negatives that cancel out. So plus 19 over 10. So writing our final answer, y equals 3 over 10x plus 19 over 10. So it is now in y equals mx plus b form, where our m, our slope, is 3 over 10. Our b, our y-intercept, is 19 over 10. So our slope, which is m, is 3 over 10. Our y-intercept, remember, is a point, so it's 0, comma b, is 0, comma 19 tenths. So make sure in Math Lab, you really make sure if it says what the y-intercept. If it asks you to give it as a point, you need to put 0, 19 over 10. Next one, find the slope of the line. I have x equals -2. This looks a little bit different because I can't get y by itself because there is no y. So if I were to graph this line, x equals -2, it would be a vertical line going through x equals -2. So it's vertical. Remember, our slope is rise over run. Rising is going up and down. It's going up and down forever, so infinity, divided by our run going left and right. This line is not going left to right any, so our run is 0. Any number divided by 0 is undefined, so our slope for this line is undefined. Same thing for the next one, y equals -11. This one looks a little bit different too, so I'm going to graph it. So this is going to be, let's just make other lines here. So this is -11. Y equals -11. This is going to be a horizontal line. So again, if we have rise over run, it's not rising, it's not going up or down any. So our rise is 0. Our run going left and right, it's going left and right forever, so infinity. 0 over any number is 0. Another way to write this is I have y equals, I have no x, so 0x plus b, 0x minus 11. So our slope is 0. So either way you want to look at it, either way you want to think about it, our slope is 0. So find the slope, x plus 3 equals 0. So this looks like this one up here. I don't have a y to solve for, so I want to graph it. So I'm going to subtract that 3 from both sides to give me my equation of x equals -3. So now it looks like this vertical line at -3. My slope is rise over run. My rise going up and down, it's going up and down forever, so infinity over my run going left and right, it's not going left or right any, so 0. Any number divided by 0, again, is undefined. Next problem. It asks us to graph the line y equals -3x minus 2. Thankfully, it's already in slope-intercept form for us, mx plus b. So I can see my slope, my m, is -3, which is the same as -3 over 1. So my rise is -3, so that means we're going to go down 3. My run is +1, so in the positive direction, we're going to go right 1. But down 3 and right 1 from what? So from our starting point from our y-intercept. So our y-intercept is 0, -2. So this is 0b. And this is our starting point. And this is our starting point. So we're going to start at 0, -2, over 0, down 2. So that's our starting point. From there, we're going to go based off of our slope to find another point. So we're going to go down 3 and right 1. So down 1, 2, 3, right 1. There's our other point. Connect the dots. And that's our line. Same thing for the next one. We have to graph 4x plus 2y equals 8. So this one is not in slope-intercept form for us. This is in standard form. So I have to put it in slope-intercept form, so I have to solve for y. So getting y by itself, we're going to subtract 4x from both sides. So that way 4x minus 4x cancels out, goes to 0. we are left with 2y equals negative 4x plus 8. Last but not least, getting y by itself, we're going to divide everything by 2. 2 divided by 2 cancels out, goes to 0. We're dividing everything by 2, so both terms get divided by 2. We're left with y equals negative 4x over 2 plus 8 over 2, which can be simplified. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2x, plus 8 divided by 2 will give us 4. So thankfully now it is in mx plus b form. So I can see my slope, which is my m, is negative 2, which is the same as negative 2 over 1. So my rise is negative 2, so that means I'm going to go down 2. My run is positive 1, so we're going to go positive 1, so we're going to go right 1. My b is 4, so my y-intercept is 0, b, 0, 4. This, remember, is our starting point. That's our starting point. So over 0, up 4. There's our starting point. From here, we're going to go down to right 1 based off of our slope. So down to right 1. Boom, there's our second dot. Connect the dots. Done. So it says, continuing on, decide whether the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. I have y equals 5x plus 2 and y equals 5x minus 3. Before we can even start this problem, I have to figure out what does it mean for two lines to be parallel. Well, if two lines are parallel, for example, like those two lines, they have the same steepness, which means the same slope. Same steepness, so same slope. So what does it mean for two lines to be perpendicular? So perpendicular means they cross at a 90 degree. So here, our slopes, our steepnesses are opposites. They're opposite reciprocals. So opposite reciprocal slope. So opposite means opposite sign. So one's positive, one's negative. Reciprocal means they're flipped. So going back to our equations, I have y equals 5x plus 2 and y equals 5x minus 3. Thankfully, they are both in slope-intercept form for us. Y equals mx plus b. So I can see that my m's are 5 for the top, 5 for the bottom. So our slopes are the same for both. So same slope. So that means they're parallel. Same slope, so that means they're parallel. Down here, decide whether they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither. F of x, which is the same thing as y, equals negative 9x plus 9. So they are both in y equals mx plus b form for us. So I know my slope is negative 9 for this first one. Second one, we have g of x, which is the same thing as y, equals 1/9 x plus 3. So this slope is positive 1/9. So I have my two slopes of negative 9 and positive 1/9. They're opposites. One's positive, one's negative, and they're flipped. This is 9 over 1. This is 1 over 9. So they're opposite reciprocal slopes. So that means they're perpendicular. So the two lines are perpendicular. Going to another one. Decide whether they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither. I have negative 10x plus 2y equals 5 and 5x minus y equals 3. So I can't tell just by looking at these what their slopes are. So I have to first put them in slope-intercept form. So if I have negative 10x plus 2y equals 5, I want to put them in slope-intercept form. I want to solve for y, get y equals. I'm going to add 10x to both sides. That way negative 10x plus 10x goes to 0. They cancel out. We're left with 2y equals 10x plus 5. Again, I want it to be mx plus b, so that's why I put this x term first. Last but not least, dividing by 2. 2 divided by 2 goes to 1. They cancel each other out. And we're left with y equals 10x over 2 plus 5 over 2. So 10 over 2 will give us 5x plus, I cannot simplify, 5 over 2. So it is now in y equals mx plus b form. So I know my m for this first one is 5. My slope is 5. Same thing for this other one, 5x minus y equals 3. 5x minus y equals 3. I want to solve for y. I want to get y by itself. I want to subtract 5x from both sides. 5x minus 5x goes to 0. They cancel each other out. We're left with negative y equals negative 5x plus 3. Last but not least, getting y by itself, we're going to divide both sides by negative 1. Negative 1 divided by negative 1 goes to 1. They cancel each other out. And again, both of those terms get divided by negative 1. So we're left with y equals negative 5x over negative 1 plus 3 over negative 1. So simplifying, negative 5 divided by negative 1 is positive 5x. 3 divided by negative 1 minus 3. It is now in y equals mx plus b form. So I know my slope for this one is 5. So if this slope is 5, this slope is 5, they have the same slope. So they're the same slope. That means they're parallel. Same slopes, so parallel. Same concept for the next one. Decide whether they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither. We have negative 2x plus 7y equals 1, and 7x plus 2y equals 18. I want to solve for y. As of right now, I don't know what their slopes are, so I want to get y by itself to put them in y equals mx plus b form, so I can find my slope. I'm going to add 2x to both sides. That way those cancel. We're left with 7y equals 2x plus 1. Last but not least, dividing by 7. 7 divided by 7 goes to 1. They cancel each other out. And both of those terms on the other side get divided by 7. So y equals 2 over 7x plus 1 over 7. It is now in slope-intercept form of y equals mx plus b. So I can see for this one, my slope is 2 over 7. My m is 2 over 7. Same thing over here. 7x plus 2y equals 18. Just by looking at it, I don't know what my slope is, so I have to get y by itself to put it into y equals mx plus b form so I can find m. So we're subtracting 7x from both sides. 7x minus 7x goes to 0. They cancel each other out. We are left with 2y equals negative 7x plus 18. Last but not least, we're getting y by itself. We're dividing both sides by 2. 2 divided by 2 goes to 1. They cancel each other out. We're left with y equals negative 7 over 2x plus 18 over 2, which simplifies down to negative 7 over 2x plus 9. It is now in the form of y equals mx plus b. So I can now see that for this one, my slope is negative 7 over 2. So this one's positive 2 over 7. This one's negative 7 over 2. One's positive, one's negative, so they're opposite. This is 2 over 7. This one's flipped as 7 over 2. So we can see they're opposite reciprocal slopes. So that means they're perpendicular. Oops. Perpendicular. Opposite reciprocal slopes, so they're perpendicular. Last two. Find the slope of the line that's parallel to the following. So now it tells me that it wants them to be parallel. Remember, parallel means same slope. Same slope. So I have to find this slope first. So if I have 3x minus 2y equals 2, I want to try to get mx plus b form. So I want to try to get y by itself. We're going to subtract 3x from both sides. That way 3x minus 3x goes to 0. They cancel each other out. We're left with negative 2y equals negative 3x plus 2. Last but not least, getting y by itself, we're dividing both sides by negative 2. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 goes to 1. They cancel each other out. We're left with y equals negative 3x divided by negative 2 plus 2 divided by negative 2, which can be simplified into y equals negative 3 divided by negative 2. Both have that negative. That could cancel each other out, so we're left with 3 over 2x. 2 divided by negative 2 will give us negative 1. So it is now in the form of y equals mx plus b. So I know my slope is 3 over 2. So if my slope is 3 over 2, I want my slope to be parallel. I want it to be the same. So my new slope is going to also be 3 over 2, and that's my final answer. That's my parallel, same slope. Last one, find the slope of the line that's perpendicular. So same concept, but this time instead of being the same slope, it's going to be the opposite reciprocal slope. The opposite reciprocal slope. So first I have to find this slope. So 5x minus 4y equals 6. I want to try to get y by itself. I want to subtract 5y from both sides. Subtract 5x from both sides. So that way 5x minus 5x cancels out, goes to 0. We're left with negative 4y equals negative 5x plus 16. Last but not least, getting y by itself, we're going to divide both sides by negative 4. We're dividing the left whole side, so the right whole side gets divided by negative 4. Negative 4 divided by negative 4 goes to 1. They cancel each other out. We are left with y equals negative 5x over negative 4 plus 16 over negative 4. And then just simplifying this a little bit, the two negatives cancel out. Positive 5 over 4x. 16 divided by negative 4 is negative 4. It is now in y equals mx plus b form. So I know my slope is 5 over 4. So this slope is 5 over 4. I want to find the perpendicular slope, so I want to find the opposite reciprocal slope. So this one's positive, so my new slope's going to be negative. This one's 5 over 4, so my new slope's going to be flipped, 4 over 5. And this is my perpendicular slope, the opposite reciprocal slope. So this is all of Module 9 Homework 1 notes. If you have any questions, please email me. Thank you very much.